Hello, hello, hello. I'm just going to share the link. All right. Oh, where did I go? Here we are. Hello, guys. Hi, everyone. I hope you're having a wonderful Tuesday or whatever day you're watching this on. And I'm noticing my mascara is a mess, so oh, enjoy that. Anyways, got ready in a hurry this morning. Oh, goodness gracious, that's gonna bother me. I hope you're doing great. Anyways, we are a little bit sluggish this morning. My brother got married this weekend, and we stayed through last night and drove back. My husband is on a work trip in Iowa, and so I drove back by myself with the kids from Southwest Minnesota to Kansas City, Kansas. And it was fine, but it was long, very long, but we're here now. So I hope you're doing good. Okay, so we are doing trust this month. I hope that you are as excited as I am. I am really excited. This is some of my favorite stuff, or it's more so some of the most convicting stuff. It's kind of funny. Is it my favorite or is it my least favorite, because it offers the most challenge to me, and trust is definitely an area that I struggle with every day. So I want to remind you of just a couple of, or kind of get your opinion of just a couple of practical things. So number one, I'm not in my car today. I'm home because it's summertime and we have all sorts of crazy things going on. So the mornings aren't necessarily the most ideal time for me anymore. So I'm just going to ask in this video, I'm not going to do a formal poll, but if you would prefer for me to do these in the afternoon on Tuesday, like 1 p.m. Central, I'd be happy to do that. Just let me know. Right now, my kids are outside playing with the hose, so we will see how that goes. You'll probably meet them. Anyways, okay, so that's number one. Number two, I sent an email and I asked in the general channel if people would be interested in having an accountability partner, and I've heard from a lot of people, which is exciting. I haven't matched anybody up today, but that's what I'm planning to do this afternoon. I'm going to dig through the introductions that you shared at the beginning and try to match up people. I don't know. I mean, it's not like I'm going to worry that you have identical lifestyles, but maybe sort of same stage of life stuff. So I will be doing that. The way that I will be matching you up is that I'll be writing a direct message. So if you go to in Slack, you can do direct messages where you have two people on, where one person is writing to two different people. So I will write a message to both of you. And then what I want you to do, and I'll have some instructions, some inspiration to start going. Then what I want you to do is sort of start a new message without me on there. And just that's how we're going to run the accountability. It's not going to be anything fancy. What I just want you to do is maybe check in with each other twice a week, maybe have a conversation about how things are going. Maybe, you know, tell them, oh, I actually watched the video this week, or I'm going to watch the video this week, or, you know, whatever it might be. So look for that today, okay? Accountability partners today. And yeah, if you noticed in the email that I sent, I'm doing a little bit, I got some excellent feedback when we talked about whether we should keep the community on Slack or move to Facebook. Like, seriously, so valuable. Thank you. I mentioned there already that we're going to stay on Slack just because it felt like more people wanted to stay there. And also, I love it. There was just some very reasonable people that just made the point, like, Slack is new. We've only been here for a month. I think it's too soon to leave. And perhaps after another month, we'll be very comfortable and maybe really start to like all the weird things that we aren't sure about right now. So I thought that's very reasonable. Yes, let's stay. We're going to be revisiting the topic of where our community will best be at the end of this month. But for now, let's just keep going. I really would love it if you spent 5 minutes watching a little tutorial on Slack. I've shared a couple of them from YouTube. I will share a couple more. There's just some real basic ones. And it's, again, I think we're so programmed for the way that Facebook sets up commenting and posting that it's just a little bit hard for us to kind of imagine it in a different way. But if you got it, perfect. If you're still struggling, I just really say, please spend 5 minutes with the YouTube tutorial and it might all be cleared up. I'll share a couple other good ones in the general channel. All right, so that's all the basic stuff. If you haven't had a chance, I would really love it if you'd spend time watching the first video. It is sort of a general introduction to trust. It's posted in the this month's topic channel. Is posted right there. You can click on it and watch it. It is kind of about how we have a legacy of mistrust, how we inherited that from the Garden of Eden, how it haunts us, how God has really, you know, how salvation history, if you take any Jeff Caven's Bible studies, which I love, but how salvation history is really about teaching us to trust. And of course, the most profound teachers of trust are our Blessed Mother, and then even more profoundly Christ, of course, through his sacrifice on the cross. And just about like what trust actually means, you know, whether we're calling it trust or faith or surrender. But it's going to lay all the groundwork. The next few weeks, we're going to move into like what this practically means. What do I actually have to do and think in my own life to trust, to hand things over to God? Okay, and just because I love stories, and I think as I'm getting deeper into this and kind of evaluating, like if I read a book, like what stuck with me, what affected me, it's oftentimes the stories. It's not necessarily the theology or the argument. It's the stories. So to inspire you a little bit on this topic of trust, I have a story to share with you. And I hear a child coming in, probably Muddy. Anyways, so my little brother got married this weekend, and let's see, are they going to stop screaming? I think they're okay. Anyways, so my little brother got married this weekend, and he is the youngest in my family. There's 5 kids, and there's 4 girls, and then him. So as you can imagine, he was mothered a lot. Bernie, can you go back outside, please? Now they're having a hose fight. Anyways, so my brother got married this weekend, and he has had a really long journey. He's not that old, but when he was a sophomore in college, he was having vision problems, and he eventually found out that he had primary central nervous system lymphoma, which meant he had brain cancer, and a really kind of terrible kind of brain cancer. If you know about lymphoma, it's not like sort of like a solid tumor that you can remove. A lot of times it has a tendency to bleed, and especially in the brain, to cause devastation. So the tumors were growing and growing. I have some tired kids this morning. Anyways, it was a very bad prognosis, but he lived, and we credit a lot of his healing to a trip to Lourdes. Okay, just a second. Okay, I'm sorry. The 2-year-old had the hose. Okay, so trust. Okay, so it's really more story about my sister-in-law. So my brother went to high school with a girl named Bobby, who is crazy shy, like crazy shy. The type of girl at a retreat, you can hang out with her all weekend and she wouldn't say a word. However, if you get to know her, she's really fun and loud and funny. Anyways, when Bobby was in high school with John, they knew each other. But Bobby was in adoration, and she told the story at her wedding. It's so cool. And she just had this thought flash into her mind that she would marry John, and she thought, well, that's kind of silly. I don't really even know him that well. But then she prayed a 9-day novena to St. Therese. She's a big St. Therese fan, which of course I was pleased to find out. And at the end of it, she saw her rose. She felt very convicted, like, yes, actually, I feel like that is the answer, that I will marry John. And so they're 30 now. So this was when they were 18, so 12 years ago. And so, but she didn't have a relationship with him at all. So she continues on. And then, in college, he gets cancer, and she feels very convicted to pray for him, of course. But it's so beautiful at her wedding, she said, but, I knew he wouldn't die because God had told me that we would get married. And then, they had all these other situations, like they went to World Youth Day together, but nothing happened there. And, she just kept thinking, she kept repeating these novenas. And then at the end, it would always be a strong message that this was supposed to be her husband, which I just find so crazy. And she would just trust, and so 12 years, you think at some point you have to sort of move on or protect yourself. And I think she kind of had to put it out of mind for a while, but she never stopped believing it. And she's very close with her mother, and they both, were praying these novenas and feeling like they were getting very strong answers afterwards that, yes, this is supposed to be your husband. So eventually my brother finally saw her in church and asked her out, and they went and got pie afterwards, and it was pretty quick courtship, and they got engaged. And after they got engaged, she told him this story about how she had, prayed all these novenas and gotten these answers and felt so convicted that they would get married, and here they were getting married. And to me, this is the most beautiful story about trust because of how long it is. And this, to me, I was talking to, at weddings, you have all these conversations. I was talking to I have this just beautiful, amazing cousin, a different cousin who's not married. And I think she's 30 now herself. I just don't understand why she's not married. And we were just talking about how it was painful for her to be at the wedding. But, the waiting is what's so hard. And the waiting is what makes it so hard to trust. Makes it so hard not to just be like, God, she really did feel like God gave her his word, and she waited for him to fulfill that word, which it's very reminiscent of the Virgin Mary and everything. But I just feel like I wouldn't have waited. I would have said, I got it wrong, or I'm sorry, Lord, I just can't wait anymore. I'm going to try to figure things out on my own or whatever, force the situation. But it's just about that waiting. And I love the book that we read last month, that one of the lines that just rings in my ears all the time is when the author talks to her mother and her, about her cross of infertility. And her mother says, the cross is in the waiting. And I also feel like the challenge to trusting is in the waiting, waiting for someone to, I know there's someone in the group dealing with her husband, healing from an addiction, and waiting for that healing and being patient through the stumbles along the way, or just waiting for that first smile from a baby once you have one, or, waiting through pregnancy, or, we're post miscarriage right now, and just like waiting, will there be another pregnancy? Will this pregnancy be carried to term? It's just all those waiting where we're called to trust and called to walk blindly. So anyways, I'll share a picture of my brother and his new bride in the group. You can see he's got a big old bald head from all of his cancer stuff, but it's just so happy for them. So anyways, I love these stories of trust. I would love to hear your stories of trust. I have never been called to trust for that long, to walk blindly for that long. But I tell you what, at the wedding, when all of this came together, like there wasn't a dry eye in the house. It was a packed wedding, and all the people that had prayed through for my brother through his brain cancer and through he had really difficult years afterwards. If you've ever been with someone that went through cancer, especially, you know, he had brain cancer and he was treated at Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota, because we're from Minnesota. But, you know, at the time when he was there, he met maybe 10 other young people with brain cancer, and they all died. And he's the only one, I mean, it was all different kinds of brain cancer, but he's the only one that lived. And so he had this really strong survivor's remorse for a long time, you know, just saying like, it would have been easier if I had died. I was in such a good place with the Lord at that time, and now I have to live. And, you know, these other people could have made better on it than I am, because he really did struggle. And he had a pretty disastrous brain biopsy, actually, that has left him totally different, actually. And he had full brain radiation that has changed his career options for sure. So anyways, I'm rambling. I'm just so happy for him. I've been so worried about my brother for so long. So long. And just to see him acting like a man, and being a man, not acting like one, and to see that God has these amazing plans for all of us if we just wait for God's timing, for his perfect timing, and allow him to do it. So anyways, okay. Who knows what the kids are doing in the backyard now? Probably something terrible. So I should go. I hope you're doing great. Again, look for your accountability partners. Let me know if you prefer for me to do the Tuesday live chats in the afternoon. And oh yes, watch the first video. I hope you love it. It will set you up for next week's, which is all about the little way. All right, good. Welcome, wonderful, happy June. I hope your June is not as crazy as mine. We got ukulele and diving lessons and taekwondo and anyway, whatever. Anyways, I'll see you guys. Take care. Bye.